This is Richard Wolff with another Wolff Responds from Democracy at Work. I want to talk briefly with you today about the relationship between labor unions on the one hand and worker co-ops on the other, between the struggle workers have to build and form unions on the one hand, and the struggle to form and sustain worker co-ops on the other. I would like to dispute right from the beginning the notion that there is an either-or going on here, that one somehow has to choose which of these two struggles is the right one or the correct one or the more important one or anything like that. I have a different perspective than any resolution of that either-or more or less important debate. Indeed, I think that debate marks an immaturity of the movement that I think is shaping American society now and into the future in important ways. So my view is this: these are two different struggles that can and should be in a coalition of mutual support. In this way, it's a little bit like the ancient debate on the left for at least the last 200 years, and if you think about it, going back much further, between what used to be called reform and revolution. Changes in the here and now that improve things versus fundamental transformations that improve things. It's not that you fight for one or the other. It's precisely that you fight for both of them, that you ally them, that you work on both of them. If you yourself don't do that, then some of us work on one of them and some of us work on the other, and we coordinate our activities. There is no need to engage in some speculation over which one will play what exact role in the future. That is nothing more than speculation that often hides a need to favor one or the other because you yourself as an individual favor one or the other. I have no problem with that. If you wish to engage in one or the other and choose that way to spend your time, fine. But that doesn't require, nor does it entail, that you somehow criticize the other that you haven't chosen without recognizing that it has its important role to play. So now let's deal with this specific case. Is union struggle important? Answer: absolutely. Working people are confronted every day by what it means to be an employee in the capitalist system, where the power, the control, and the exploitation are directed by a tiny, unaccountable minority. The owners, the major shareholders, the board of directors, the founder of the company. You know who they are. You've all encountered them. Their job, as they tell us, is to make profit their bottom line. They're in the business to make money. You and I, as employees, are means to that end for them, because the profits we produce, they take. That's how capitalism works. They get the profit. We don't. Our job is to do what we're told, where we're told, how we're told, when we're told, and then go home to rest and recuperate and come back the next weekday and do it again. To fight against the tendency to give us the minimum wages they can get away with, the poorest possible, cheapest conditions for our work to occur in. Unions fight so that we get a better deal within the capitalist system of employer and employee. Working people need unions. Critics of capitalism could and should support what unions do, participate, make life better in a daily way by a unionized effort to improve job conditions, wages, benefits, and all the rest. But there is another kind of work which says, look, in the end, it's always an adversarial relationship. The workers, versus the employer. Workers wanting more risks the employer getting less. That's an adversarial setup. The employer doesn't give you low wages and bad working conditions because he doesn't like you. He's engaged in another activity for which you are just a means. And much of the difficulty of life in capitalism comes precisely from that root, that relationship in the workplace, employer-employee, power in one hand, not in the other, wealth accumulating at one pole, not at the other. That situation ramifies throughout society, and it leads people to say that the ultimate solution we need to fight for is a transformation of the workplace. So it doesn't have one minority group as employer and a majority as employees. And the way to do that has been developed over centuries of human experience is to finally say we can democratize the workplace. One worker, one vote. All decisions, what we produce, how we produce, where we produce, when we produce, and how we divide up the wealth we create is all done democratically. That's a worker co-op. And fighting for that is not an either-or with fighting to improve workers' living and working conditions through a union bargaining with an employer. In the history of the United States, if you go back to the 19th century, there are plenty of examples in which unions and worker co-ops were in a coalition, helped each other, supported each other, understood that each could and should and would strengthen the other. There is no reason and no positive outcome from each of those two allies under the best circumstance sniping at each other as if one could tell the other what's more important. They're both important. Many, many examples of workers coming to understand the worker co-op as an idea through their struggles in unions. And many of the activists struggling for worker co-ops understood that what working people learn about the capitalist system when they're involved in their union is an invaluable step towards their understanding how and why worker co-ops are the kind of transformation that working people can and should seek for their future. This is Richard Wolff for Democracy at Work with another Wolff Responds.